Okay, Chair Watt, we are now live and recording. You may begin the meeting when you wish.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our committee of the whole meeting for April the 9th. I'd like to, before I begin, I would like to remind everyone that the open part of this meeting will be recorded and live streamed on our YouTube channel. And I would now like to call the roll, and please raise your hand and state your presence when I call your name. Mayor Watson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Nelson. Present. Councilor Ward. Present. Councilor Johnson. Present. And I myself, Councilor Watt, Chair. Thank you very much. And staff that's here today. Acting CEO Clerk Martina Chait-Hart.
Good morning.
Interim Treasurer Paul Kramer. Morning. Morning, Paul. Fire Chief Chuck Pedersen. Morning. Morning, Chuck. Chief Building Official Don Helwan. Thank you. Planner Christina Coulter.
Present.
Good morning. Thank you. Manager of Public Works Jake Connon will be away. He's at a county meeting this morning, so his report will be looked after by staff. Manager of Recreation Services Facilities Mike Mood. Morning, Mike. Thank you very much. And our librarian CEO Maggie Pearson will not be attending this morning either. So, with a quorum of the committee in attendance, I call this meeting to order. The land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to our First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. And I'll ask committee members, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest on this meeting? Seeing none, the adoption of today's agenda, please. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, any comments, questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. That's passed. All right, let's move right on to number 5, delegations, petitions, and presentations. We have Laura Thompson and Rhonda Keenan, Peterborough McCorthy's Economic Development 2023 Business Count Survey Report. Ladies, podium is all yours. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Laura Thompson, and I am the Business Count Project Coordinator for Peterborough and McCorthy's Economic Development. I am here to talk to you about the annual Business Count Survey, which will soon be entering its 5th year. Next slide, please. In this presentation, I will be going over what the Business Count Survey is, why we conduct the survey, the results we got from the survey in 2022 versus 2023, which will lead into themes we identified from the data collected. I will then discuss how we at PCAT work with each municipality both before the summer starts and during the collection process, which includes dealing with challenges businesses have identified, which will allow me to go into some of the most common feedback we heard from businesses in Douro-Dummer. And I will finish off by talking about the 2024 surveys we have ongoing and coming up soon. The Business Count Survey is a brief and voluntary survey made up of simple questions that we want to ask every business in Peterborough City and County. The survey runs from May to September and involves our team of summer students contacting businesses through the phone, email, and through in-person visits to some municipalities. Businesses can also complete the survey online through a link on our website. The questions we asked in the survey included the address and contact information of the business. We asked about the legal and ownership status of the business, such as whether they are independently owned. We asked the number of employees they have and whether they are full or part-time, volunteers or seasonal staff. We asked if they plan on hiring in the next 12 months and what skills or positions they are having trouble filling. We asked if the business plans to expand in the next 12 months. And we asked what percentage of the employees work on-site and live within the city or county of Peterborough. We also asked about any challenges or opportunities the business has that they would like our support with. Our main goals for conducting this survey are to talk to every businesses in all the township and municipalities, because this allows us to obtain the most current and accurate information about what's going on with the businesses in our community, while ultimately allowing us to provide each business with a good experience with our organization so that they may feel more comfortable reaching out for support in the future. After completing the surveys, we are able to put together the annual business count report, which visualizes key elements of the state of businesses and the overall economy in the city and county of Peterborough. With the business count data, communities can understand and respond to the needs of the businesses in their local community. The report allows you to monitor local trends, such as employment numbers by sector and high turnover areas. You can analyze and promote local business sectors for tourism or business generation. The data can help create business attraction and retention strategies by showing what industries have a gap that can be targeted. This data can tell you if there is a need for specific training or employment programs based on labor market needs, as well as understanding if you are hitting employment density targets. You can also forecast infrastructure and service requirements, such as road wear and tear, which can impact transit service plans. Now let's dive into the actual business count survey results. This slide shows the results of the 2022 business count survey, where we identified and attempted to survey 3,327 businesses, and we completed surveys with 995 of them. This graph shows the results of the 2023 survey. Our goal was to surpass the previous year's number of completed surveys, and we believe we firmly accomplished this by successfully surveying 1,294 businesses out of the 4,175 identified. This was an increase of 30% of completed surveys. From those 1,294 completed surveys, we captured the number of businesses in each industry. For example, there were 869 retail businesses and 466 accommodation and food businesses surveyed in Peterborough City and County. We counted over 9,000 full-time and over 4,000 part-time jobs. 258 businesses requested assistance from Peterborough the Fourth's economic development, while 59 indicated they planned on expanding their floor space in the next 12 months. Additionally, 87% of businesses surveyed indicated the majority of their employees, meaning over 50%, live within the city or county of Peterborough. The major themes we identified from the business count data are as follows. We found there to be talent gaps in many businesses, with there being to struggle to find, hire, and retain skilled staff, with the manufacturing, construction, retail, healthcare, and accommodation sectors experiencing the most significant hiring difficulties. The next theme is businesses identifying issues with managing the rapidly rising costs of materials and labor, especially for small businesses. Meanwhile, a number of businesses identified that they are looking to expand but are struggling to find space, indicating that there is a lack of commercial and industrial buildings available in our region. On the brighter side, we identified that the economic base of the city and county of Peterborough is made up of a diverse range of business sectors and industries, which gives our region stability and resilience for the future. And finally, with the vast majority of businesses indicating their workforce is made up of local employees, this shows there are numerous local employment opportunities. However, it also shows a potential vulnerability to be aware of, as if a mid-sized company were forced to relocate. This would have a significant impact on the local economy and those local employees. We also dug deeper into themes affecting small businesses and businesses in the tourism industry. We found that 126 businesses in tourism identified they had a skills shortage when trying to hire staff, with the most common shortage being found in hospitality and tourism and sales and service. We found these businesses most often requested to speak to PCAD because they wanted support with marketing and promoting their businesses, including wanting to learn about how to more effectively market their business on social media or wanting to learn of any networking opportunities. In this next section, I will go over the results of businesses in Douro-Dummer who completed the survey. In the summer of 2023, the business count survey team identified 90 businesses in Douro-Dummer, and 35 of those completed the survey. These numbers do not include businesses in the agricultural, forestry, fishing, and hunting industries, as we found that trying to collect the data during what is their usually most busiest time of year was not the most efficient method of collection. In a moment, I will discuss our alternative to ensure we are still collecting information from those businesses. In regards to the 35 businesses who completed the survey with us, 4 indicated they plan to expand in the next 12 months. and 17 requested to speak to an EDO. The graph on the bottom was pulled directly from the business count report and shows full and part-time employees in Douro-Dummer, as well as the industries they were reported in. This is where the collaboration between Peterborough and LaPorta's economic development and each municipality comes in. Our hope is that by the time the business count team makes its way to the municipality to survey the businesses, the local community representatives will have shared promotional material about the survey to promote awareness, which makes it more likely that the businesses will complete the survey with us. Once a business identifies a challenge or opportunity through the survey, we determine whether it is a sector-based or a local concern. And based on that determination, we hand it off to someone within our organization, or we pass along the contact information to a local representative to follow up on. We find that this process ensures all businesses and their concerns are addressed in the most efficient way with the people best suited to help with it. To go back to the survey results in Douro-Dummer, this is what businesses had to say. The most common comments or trends were regarding labor and hiring issues, with the most common skill shortage being trades and general laborers. Businesses also stated that there are issues keeping up with the rising costs of supplies and materials. And the third trend was issues with regulations or red tape and restrictions on their business. Now, I would like to give an update on current and upcoming projects from PFED regarding the business count survey. Currently, we are conducting the agricultural business count survey, which is geared towards those businesses in the agricultural, forestry, and fishing and hunting industries. We started surveying them in February, and we will continue calling and emailing them throughout April. While they can also complete the survey online through our website. The QR code on this slide links directly to the survey if you would like to share it. The annual business count survey is coming up soon as well. We have our team of students who will be starting the survey collection process in May by contacting businesses throughout each township and municipality on a weekly basis. We plan on reaching out to businesses in Douro-Dummer in late May, as well as July and August with time permitting. We would greatly appreciate your support in spreading the word about both of these surveys. As the more businesses that complete the survey, the more accurate a picture we all get about what's going on in our community. To see the results of all past surveys, you can visit our website at the link on the bottom here, which will also give you information about all of our surveys, as well as the schedule for the summer business count. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. These are our social media pages where we will be sharing promotion about the business count survey, as well as our other projects and any updates we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laura. Excellent presentation, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the committee members now for any comments, questions. No, Watson.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you, Ms. Thompson, for your for your presentation. Just a couple of questions. Just to be clear, so you referenced the agriculture, forestry, hunting, fishing, that group of businesses. Is that why you're attributing only 90 businesses were counted in 2023 versus 2022, which had 138? Is that
yes,
specifically? Okay.
Yes, we just kept those separate so we can do the agricultural business count survey. So that does not include any businesses in those industries, but we are counting them separately in the agricultural business count survey.
Wonderful, thank you. Just a couple of more questions. In your presentation, overall, you had referenced that there were, I believe, 59 businesses in the region that were looking to expand floor space. And then specifically in Douro-Dummer, you referenced a number that had planned expansion. I'm curious if that definition of planned expansion is specific to floor space, or are we talking about, FTEs, hires, that type of expansion?
Yes, so with that, we did ask about their floor space, and then when we asked about if they plan to expand, it was mostly if they wanted to get a different brick and mortar, or if they wanted to expand their floor space in terms of perhaps moving to a different building to increase the size. But that was more so just about the physical floor space of the building.
Okay. Is there a way to pull a metric about just general expansion that doesn't necessarily need floor space? Because particularly in Douro-Dummer, but also many rural businesses, very cottage industry, it's not floor space. It's, homeless businesses, the tradespeople who are looking to expand, trucks on the road, so to speak, versus, a physical need for space. Is that accounted anywhere in the numbers?
So we don't ask specifically about that, but we can look at the past numbers and compare them year over year to specific businesses and whether they increase the number of employees they have. We do ask if they plan on hiring more people, so that's kind of how we account for that. But certainly that's something we can look into, ask them moving forward, just a general expansion of their business. But mostly we look at the employee numbers of the business and, how many employees we have in the region.
Right, understood. And one final question, again, the Douro-Dummer specific numbers. You had identified 3 reasons, 3 barriers, I believe, labor, material supply costs, and then red tape. Do you go in any further to understand what that level of red tape is? As government officials, it's, red tape is something that I know personally I want to try and avoid, but not all of it is within our purview, of course. Some of it might be provincial or federally regulated. So do you have an understanding of what that red tape might be inhibiting that growth?
And so I do have a bit of an idea. We did have Eleni Dudovsky is our economic development officer, who, when the business identified a challenge, she would reach out to them and contact them to ask further about what their challenge would be. I do that some of them were regarding expansion. One of them was they wanted to expand to have a patio for their business, but they were facing issues with not being allowed to do so due to specific regulations. Not exactly sure with that specific one, but certainly Eleni would have a better idea of that because I was not going to follow up with the business. But that was some of what I heard from the red tape that they were having issues with.
Great, thank you. If there's a way that we can get that information filtered back. I see Ms. Keenan has her hand up.
Thank you. Through the chair, just as an update, when we ask companies when they talk about red tape, that is a big bucket where everything that is difficult to get through and bureaucratic to get through goes in. It can be insurance. We are hearing an awful lot of information about how challenging insurance is, whether it's the cost of insurance or what insurance is now required in order for a business to operate. So that is something that's outside of a municipality's control, but it is certainly something that we are flagging and making communities aware of how difficult insurance is now for businesses to operate in. And again, we try to and take that as an economic development agency. We try to take that and try to educate our small businesses on setting up their business plans to include their insurance strategies. The other, of course, is always mixed use. And so when somebody wants to add a new use to their business the way it is operating right now and they want to change, that process is unknown. And so sometimes it's very difficult, and it's not just a square footage. Sometimes it's just adding in a new line or a new product that they want to do or a new service. Can always add a little bit more. I'm going to say red tape is overused, but I think it's more that it's unaware of all of the steps that are required. And so a lot of it is about hand-holding to make somebody go through those steps to make sure that they're doing things correctly and properly, and so that they don't find themselves out spending a ton of money, only finding out that they've thrown good money after that.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Through the chair, thanks very much for your presentation. Mayor Watson's kind of stole a little bit of my question here on the red tape and stuff, but I do have another question. You mentioned in your presentation that there was 17 people that actually wanted to speak to a representative. I just wondered, and again, you maybe don't know all that results, but I just wondered what was the biggest theme on people asking to speak to a representative? Was it red tape? Was it what? Did you keep track of what that actually was?
Yes, we did. We identified some common themes, and so the ones that I referenced, those were generally the topics that were mentioned that they wanted help with. So sometimes it was just about, do you have any way of finding more people for us to hire? Is there any way to find more employees that we can get? A lot of it was that they were struggling to find help and retain employees. So a lot of that is what they just wanted support with for those things.
So just to follow up there, if you don't mind, Chair. So from that, and I hear this all the time, people having trouble hiring people. What's the recommendation to the businesses that can't find people to hire or qualified people to hire? What's kind of the recommendation that yous are providing their businesses?
Maybe if I can jump in.
Sure.
Through the chair. When you're finding out about workforce development challenges, because it is such a theme in construction, manufacturing, agriculture, general labor has always been an issue. We try to work from short-term mitigation to big long-term plans. And so we've had great relationships with both post-secondary school boards to try to bring in skills development training. And so that's more of our longer term plan, is to introduce students earlier on to the jobs that are available in the community, that are well-paying jobs in the trades, and encourage them to try it. So we're not allowed to talk about it yet, but it will be coming out that we do have another workforce development project kicking off this summer, again, with the intention of trying to introduce youth, particularly in that grade 11 timeframe, into different places of work, so they can try skilled trades to find out that it's really not, it's a pretty fun career to be able to go and earn a good living in the local community. So that's how we do it long term. I will say, a lot of the times we've been dealing with family pressures that you must go to university and not necessarily grades. And that's been something that we've recognized for over 20 years now. I will say there's progress in happening, because I do participate in a labor force advisory committee. And this year, for the first year, the school boards were reporting a wait list to get into the trades and training programs at schools, where before it was, we were doing a lot of pulling to get students to consider a career. And that way we're now seeing an oversupply. So that's exciting. And so I would say it's working. It's just waiting until they can graduate to be able to get into that workforce. So that's one of them. The other main theme that we're getting from those businesses are social media and how they are managing attraction, promotion for their businesses is a lot of work. They're good at what they do. They're not necessarily marketing managers and marketing coordinators. So we try to introduce them to the experts in the field to try to help them with their business. So we'll do a little bit of one-on-one consultation with them, but we offer workshops and training and online and all of those things to be able to help those businesses do it on their own time, because not everyone's available at 10 o'clock to do a workshop. So we try to make it online as much as possible so they can do it when they're not serving customers. So again, we try to hear what they're saying, find out what the problems are, and then create a new program for them to say, this is how we can help you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Johnson.
To the chair. I must say that co-op system we got in place right now, and they're strengthening it. It works out very well. I must say, over the years, I've used a lot of young lads, but I've probably got 8 guys that get back and they can work, full-time work, and then some of them moved on, but I'm just saying, it does work. And they need to get out to a young age to see that the university isn't for everybody, and then to see that they gotta work for it, not just a matter of showing up or comparison people. But I really believe in that program, and I think they're strengthening it more and more, because we're getting more and more applications for people who want to work through school time or even for the summer.
Through you, Chair Watt, thank you very much for the presentation. The one item I was wondering here too, being a business owner myself, actually, Councilor Johnson, are there any trends in the county of businesses diversifying to segments? Probably falls a little bit into the expansion market, but some great integration or product line that.
So through the chair, we certainly are finding one field that we've done a little bit of research on is in agritourism. And we do have a report and a study to talk about the options for agritourism, but that certainly comes with a lot of discussion that still needs to be had on how to do agritourism well, correctly, and in line with all of the rules and regulations. So we do see that it's very important for visitors to want a different kind of experience. And oftentimes they do want to understand a little bit more about how farming works and how does that food actually land on the table. And so there has been a few countries that do it exceptionally well, Italy being one of them, but Scotland has certainly done a great job. And we actually brought in a farmer from Scotland to talk to some of our small businesses to say, if you are thinking about agritourism, this is what it could look like. Here's some pitfalls, but it's not for the faint-hearted. You need to go in with a plan, and we will help develop, work with those clients to build a plan. So yes, there are folks that are looking at diversifying. We also have a second program dedicated to tourism about creating new experiences. And so we know that, you know, the new trend in tourism is not just to look at something and go away. They want to be more immersive. They want to feel and touch and experience things. And so we are encouraging our tourism operators, those small businesses that depend on visitors, to create those experiences that are exciting. And so there's a whole workshop, there's a lot of training behind it, workshopping, and we will ultimately help them get a business plan for that new product. And there is a little bit of grant funding behind that for them to be able to kick that off and operate. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll be kicking off those small companies.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from staff? I know some of the, this probably pertains to some of our departments, so if there's any questions or comments for these ladies, by all means, go ahead. No, I don't see any. Any more from the committee? Then I will entertain a motion to receive the presentation with thanks. Councillor Johnson, Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? Thank you very much, ladies. Much appreciated. Thank you for coming to our lovely township this morning. All right, perfect. So we'll move on to the manager's reports now. And we'll start off with the manager of recreation facilities. Mike, it's all yours.
Good morning, everyone, and through the chair to everybody present. You've all had a chance to look at my report or my update, so I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just going to highlight a few items. On March 20th at Warsaw Community Center, we took the ice out for the season. We typically take it out on the Monday, but we had some extra ice rentals that we would accommodate it, so we did it midweek. And then we started the following Monday right into lacrosse tryouts. So we've had them for the last 3 weeks. And then we took the ice out at Douro-CC on April 2nd. And then we spent last week cleaning up the facility and getting it ready for tonight, in which we have girls roller derby starting already. So it's been it's been a very quick turnover from our ice season to our summer season. And we've actually seen a huge increase in rentals for the month of April. Typically, that is our downtime in our transition before the parks open. But pre-COVID, we've gone up about 45 hours in night rentals for the month of April. And then even last year, which 2023 was our best year ever for facility and park rentals, which was an increase of about 150 hours for the year. We're up 21 hours for this month alone. So it's good to see everybody getting out and using our facilities. So it's awesome. Also, we did the Easter egg hunt again this year, which was very successful. We had a record number of people out for that. We had 141 kids, I believe. So it's probably going to make us rethink how we initiate that hunt next year to maybe separate the kids even more and provide a bigger area for them. So everybody that was there seemed to enjoy it. We had positive feedback. So Good to see. Also, with the warmer weather coming, we've already started our spring maintenance, on our mowers. We've, done the oil changes, greases. We've taken the blades off to get them all ready and sharpened up to get at it. And then we also met with the pickleball group, users. And we developed some etiquette signage for the courts. Just speaks about, no bikes, roller skates, etc. on the court. Talks about the playing surface and that if people are waiting, you know, your time for 45 minutes, to allow the next person to get in. And then, it also, we weren't sure exactly how we were going to, display our calendar for the courts. So talking with the acting CAO, we decided to go with QR code signage. So when they're right at the gate, they can scan it and it'll bring it right to our facility booking calendar. So that will save staff time for changing over the updated signs. Because we don't usually get the rentals and then it's good for that month. We get them ongoing, so we constantly have to update that signage. So it's a good way to keep everybody up to date to our rentals. And it's pretty much the biggest highlights. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, thank you. Maybe any questions, comments?
The capital project that you said you got to go, and you said down here, the Legion, ball diamond regrading. I guess my question is that, you're regrading the field itself, or like the around the ball diamond kind of thing? And I guess the question, who pays for that?
Through the chair to Councilor Johnson, that was part of our capital budget of $20,000. So this is gonna regrade the outfield and top up the infield. And then part of the regrading is to do behind the fencing, where the old horseshoe pits were. And it's just cleaning up that area. And then we're creating just a water access point for people that if they're there, we can put a picnic table back there. Kids can go down, play and do just away from the diamond while their siblings or relatives are playing ball.
To the chair, the reason I ask is that part of the park is the counties. And they've never paid anything towards anything on that, as far as taxes or insurance or anything. I'm just wondering, how they're taking on ourselves to do that.
Through the chair, I don't know if that is correct. The Lions Park is part of the counties that I'm aware of.
Oh, I'm
This
sorry.
is for the
The
Legion, yeah,
All right, yeah.
the township assumed that a number of years
So I
ago,
apologize.
so,
I was thinking of the ones, but,
yeah.
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good.
Through the chair, thank you for the presentation, Mike. Just one question again on the Legion ball diamond regrading. You mentioned in here an ORCA permit. What specifically is required in the permit?
Yeah, through the chair. It's just, for us to create a water access point, we just need a permit. I met last fall with Orca and told them what I was trying to accomplish, and they didn't see any issues with it. It just requires a proper, go through the proper channels and permits. I know that in the past, at the back dam parking lot, we should have asked for a permit first. Everything was okay with that, but at the same time, it's just me trying to stay on top of that and make sure we're going through the proper channels and everything. So that's, it's at no cost to the township. Through consultation, there was no issues that they saw with us doing so. And we just have to create a 1.8 meter access only. So it won't be, can't be any greater than that.
Chair, one thing I wanted to mention, thank you, you and your staff for the Easter egg hunt. I've heard nothing but good things about it. And like you mentioned that another year you have to look at more eggs because the turnout was the best we've ever had. And weather permitting, that, you know, that's a big deal too. So I want to thank you and your staff for doing that.
Any other questions, comments? I have a couple if I could please, Mike, and one that I kind of mentioned there before. Well, and it really pertains to the weather being a lot nicer earlier this year than we got, but, and it's the decision of whoever, like when we go about it, the portable washrooms. And like I said, I've heard, I guess, put the fire hall up here, the playground behind the fire hall, it's getting used a lot and a lot more frequently and earlier. But then the kids are, well, where can they go to, you know, the bathroom, mommy or daddy, whatever like that. So is there any option of, moving that contract ahead a month kind of thing in future? Not necessarily right now, but maybe in the future. Now, next year we may have snow in May, how do you know? But it's just the thing that I have been asked about it, and I'm sure back then maybe the same way, they start to get to that time of year when people are using them. It's just something for thought, and maybe council could think about it, the committee could think about it for a future meeting, and then you come back with a report on that as to what your thoughts are. That would be good. My other thing that I would like to see down the road, not right away, but in the near future, to bring back to council. We haven't been in the black in either arenas for a number of years. I don't think we ever will be again. But there's always a question of, oh, what does it cost? What does it cost? Like, you know, how can we run 2 arenas? Well, you know what? We're running 2 arenas in the past cheaper than some municipalities are running 1. But the question still comes up. So can we have a report sometime in the next few months to council as to what the deficit was for each arena and what that equates to on the tax bill per household? And I don't think it's a great big deal per household, but it's just people want to know. So if that's something you can back, like I say, there's no big rush on it, but you know, a few months in a council meeting, once you have all your numbers all done, that would be good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, to the chair, start off with the first question for the toilets. Typically in the past, we've always operated from May long weekend or the week of before the long weekend until after Thanksgiving. It works out to be approximately 6 months of the season. Typically, most years that would be fine. I know this year we've seen a normal year and with a lot of nice weather a lot earlier. So I can understand people's wanting to have those facilities put in place. We can definitely look at some locations if council would like us to. I know what approximate cost is $150 per location that we would do that for the month. The company that we do typically use is, they've got a little bit of a drive, so I don't know. More than just say 1 at a location, because we do get a decent, like a reduced pricing because we do get at one time. But we can definitely look at picking some locations and having them out sooner if council wishes. And then as for the deficit, yeah, I can work with the finance department and try to get some of those numbers together and bring back to council.
Thank you. All right. Any comments from any other staff members? No. All right, I will entertain a motion to receive the report with thanks. Mayor Watson, all in favor? Thank you very much, Blake.
Thank you.
And I guess the next one is Public Works, and Martina, are you going to take that one for us?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Jake is at a meeting at the county, so he apologizes for not being able to join us today. But he has prepared a report for you to review. The one thing he would like me to highlight for you is the county has removed their half loads as of this Monday. We will be removing our half loads next Monday, so the 15th. This week, we're going to work on some notice to the public and getting staff ready to remove those signs on Monday morning. Just wanted to let you know the schedule and what our steps are going to be. I'm happy to take any questions back, but I may not be able to answer.
Any questions, comments from any members? Did a good job.
Okay.
Everybody else?
No, just a comment, very, very good report, and I so moved to accept the report.
Thank you, and seconder, Councilor Johnson, all in favor? Perfect, thank you very, very much. Okay, moving right on, planning department, Christina.
Thank you, Chair Watt, members of the committee. You've got my report planning 2024-10, and I'm going to just highlight a few things for the committee. We reinitiated the cloud permit planning module, and the pre-consultation module is now live. However, it's not public facing yet. So what we're doing is internally, we're using the process to make sure that it's working efficiently. And then once we are sure that there's no bugs, we'll be putting that on the township website to offer for our pre-consultation processes. The technical advisory committee for the county official plan met in February and March, and our next meeting is scheduled for next week. At the last meeting, we did continue reviewing and recommending changes to the official plan based on the draft provincial planning statement. We've included the minutes from those meetings on the regular council agendas. And we continue to be busy accepting planning inquiries, pre-consultations, formal applications. They don't appear to be slowing down. Our rezoning applications for this year, we've already met the amount that we received total for last year in terms of 8 applications. 2 of those applications, my report indicated they were going to go to a public meeting on April 16th. However, we had to prioritize one of those ahead of the others, so the anticipated date for the other 2 will be May 7th, public meeting. Our Donwood and Hallsglen subdivisions, they're working towards clearing their draft plan conditions. We did receive notification from the development team for the Hallsglen that they believe they'll be seeking an extension to their draft plan approval. That draft plan approval lapses September of this year, and so they're still working towards their 3rd engineering submission. And in order to get peer review of that, they want to make sure they've got enough time to meet all of their conditions. So I think that's the high level. If there's any questions from the committee, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Mayor Watson.
Thank you, through the chair. Ms. Coulter, it's not in your report, it's kind of the things that we don't speak about because there's nothing to report on it yet. I know, of course, there's a lot of anticipation for the provincial policy statement to be approved at the province level, plus, you know, what's helped us move forward with our official plan. Do you have a sense of how many applications might be waiting in the wings where proponents have indicated to you they want to move forward, but they're just kind of caught in this limbo per se?
Through the chair, I don't have a definitive number. I think one of the biggest changes that is proposed through the new provincial planning statement is currently the way it's drafted is that the growth plan today requires a minimum 30-meter vegetation buffer around any key hydrologic feature, which doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a provincially significant wetland. It can be a non-evaluated wetland, a water course. The proposed PPS does not contain the same wording as the existing growth plan, so it would be removing that minimum 30-meter VPZ. So it would be going back to as proposed, the current provincial policy statement, which is only applicable to provincially significant features. So if you had a provincially significant wetland or ANSI, you would have to do an environmental impact study within 120 meters, but it didn't establish an absolute no-go of 30 meters like the growth plan does. So we do have a number of pre-consultations where we've met with people and they are stuck with the 30-meter VPZ that is sort of limiting their ability to comply with the growth plan. And there are a few people that have indicated they're waiting to see where that process will end up. And if it is as drafted, if it does not contain the 30 meters, then they will have more opportunity. But I don't have specific.
That's good, thank you.
Any questions, comments? Staff members? All good? All right, see no others? Mr. Johnson? Thanks for more. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina. Yep. Okay. Now we're getting ready to go. I guess you're up next, Dawn. Now, whether you want to wait till Ray gets back or whether you want to start it, it's up to you.
He said keep going.
He said keep going?
He said keep going. He's read the report.
Thank you.
Okay.
Committee members, you have my report 2024-04 in front of you. I'll just highlight some key things that we're working on in the department. Under my general heading, you'll note that we've attended the countywide NG911 working group. And through that, we were able to identify kind of a need for us to have a more robust 911 wayfinding sign bylaw, policy and procedure that comes to that. So we've identified a number of properties that have second dwelling units in it, on them that currently don't have a unique address or identifier. And so when we think to emergency services, how do they know that dwelling unit exists and how can they provide care to someone who may need it? And so that's one of the things that we are working on right now and that we're excited for and looking into the policy on how we number them, whether they're attached or detached, and whether there's enough room along the roadway or in the parking lot to establish new 911 numbers, or if they need an alphanumeric system as well. So that's some of the things that we're identifying and excited for that. My next one is our permit renewals. We've actioned over now 370 files. So we're just over 40% of our kind of stale permits, ones that are at least 2 years old, if not older, where construction hasn't progressed significantly. I believe that we've had 40 of those that are continued for payment. And other than that, we're still working on a handful of the files, and the other ones, the fee has been waived. We've been either able to close them, whether it's errors within our files, or just the person didn't know that after occupancy they needed final, and some of those things. So it's been good, I think, for us to be able to touch on. I know we had a hiccup at the start with our notifying of people, but I think the program in whole is a good thing. Again, we stand by it, and we really believe that this is gonna help us with our files, but also people when they sell a home. That's when we're seeing a lot of the issues come up, these open permits that are still kicking around. And so with that, leading into our septic reinspection program, we believe that we've learned and taken a lot of the comments that we've heard on how we notify the public and our messaging going out to them. So the reinspection program, our website went live today for that. So we have a dedicated website now for our septic reinspection program. It allows people to go onto that website. They can search their property. They can tell what zone they're in and what the anticipated year that they'll be there. It tells you the history of the program, why it's there, talks about what they can expect if they get a letter. And then if someone receives a letter from us, which they're being sent out this week, there's a spot for them to go and fill out the questionnaire. So they have the opportunity to come in, collect a paper application or questionnaire if they need, but if not, they can do it online. Upon completing it online, they submit it, it goes right to us, and we're able to work on that file right away. And so we hope that what people will see is our messaging is clear. There is lots of information to digest, but it's there for them, and we're here to help them as they want to work through it. Always our thing is that we're here to work with our ratepayers. This isn't about trying to catch anything or do anything to a septic that's already working. It's just if there's stuff that's not working, if we can identify issues. We just had a failed septic this morning. These are the things that we're trying to get away from. Failed septic can really cause environmental hazard and public health and safety hazards. So we did that. The PPH septic program, the septics, they've now divested that program. The municipalities are really looking at their own. There's some that are hanging in until about November of this year, but they're still being consulted on new applications and new permitting. It's just that PPH is kind of helping them out a little more, but a lot of the townships have taken on that fully now. So that's good to see. There's lots of good transition that's happening. And one of the nice things is they put a great working group together. Kudos to PPH, trying to have all the municipalities involved. And that way, what we hope to see is a little bit more where we're all kind of enforcing the same way, asking the same things, and some continuity between all the different townships. So we're excited to see that happen. Planning, I think
as Ms. Coulter identified, their numbers are up in rezoning, and that typically planning applications have us attending sites as well. So we've also seen our workload pick up. Permitting, I do note that we have a reduction in our permits from this year to last. It's unfortunate for us because our funding comes from permitting, but we're not lacking the work. As we can see ahead of that, we've actually 370 files on permitting. So we're not without the work being done. Unfortunately, it's the revenue that may take a small hit. But again, we have great staff there that we have the ability right now to take on some of these larger projects. So we're looking forward to doing that and hopefully getting ourselves caught up department-wide. Enforcement, as far as bylaw goes, we have seen an increase in bylaw enforcement. And again, we're going to be looking into updating policy and procedures with bylaw as we work through revamping some of the bylaws, some of our old bylaws that we see within the municipality. Some have already been done. So we'll continue to work towards that. The one thing that's not on my report, just so you know, is we did put out a summer student posting. So we would be looking to hire a summer student this year again. We've had some candidates, and so when that closes, we'll work through that procedure as well. We've been blessed with our last few students. They've been exceptional, and so we're excited to hopefully have someone similar. And then last but not least is we are looking to send the tender out for the new building department truck. Again, something that's going to be utilized extremely well as we go through the permit renewal with our everyday inspections, septic re-inspection as well. We'll have an opportunity that there'll be lots of use for both of those vehicles and the need to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Mayor Watson.
Through the chair, I do want to talk about the permits, 40% reduction, but first I would be remiss, you noted the NG 911 secondary suites addresses, and of course, without an A or B or other number, there's always the what three words app that our fire chief has been so good at educating us in the event of an emergency. So I think it's important to mention, obviously we need the 911 signs, but certainly on properties, what three words is a really great resource. As it relates to the 40% reduction in applications, Mr. Honan, do you have any sense of what that could be attributed to? I know, 2020, we saw kind of increase. Is this leveling out? Are we talking, is this a general state right now, not just within the municipality, but, in the region with respect to work and cost and affordability, or do you have a sense of that?
Through the chair, I think that there is a general leveling from what the expansion that we saw through COVID times. I think that was an anomaly. When we look back and discussing with other building departments, they are experiencing the same. They're coming back to pre-COVID numbers, which appears to be kind of where we're at. This time of year, April a little bit different, but through the February, March, that was always a slow time for building departments. And the last few years have not been that. That's when we've seen, people are still kind of going strong on that. So I think we're back to kind of a bit of a new normal. I'm sure there's some economic issues that are there as far as financing rates for people and stuff. Talking with trades within the industry, they're still busy, but I think cautiously optimistic that things will continue to take off into the summer. I think people have, there's jobs out there, there's people bidding for the jobs, but maybe it's just not as strong as it once was. But I do think that there's probably some of that's just a leveling. We also anticipate that we would see a bit more, if we look back into the 2018-19 previous years, we're going to see more of that uptake through April, May, and June. Half loads come off, the weather starts to change, and that's when people start to really think about building those construction things, especially with our cottage population as well. So we anticipate to still see strong numbers. We have some very big projects in the works right now that are going to help the department with our funding as well. So that's great, and it's good for the community. Just some really nice projects that we hopefully will see to fruition. So we're excited.
Just to follow up, it's a little concerning. I understand, the time of year, but when we're looking year over year and it's down 40%, it's, still that time of year compared to this time of year. And if we look forward, the next time we activated the goal 3 months from now, it puts us in around June. The impacts that if this trend continues, what that impact would be to the department, but it sounds like with some exciting projects that are on on the horizon. Hopefully that will be mitigated, and I trust that you'll bring forward any flags before June if we're concerned from a budget standpoint.
Councilor Johnson.
Yeah, through the chair. Excuse me, I've got a couple more questions for you. Thanks for your report there. Get back to the septics. Now, you said you got it, just sent out today, a certain zone that's going to be on the next list. Could you tell us what area that is in? Just that I have it when people start calling down, know kind of what area that is roughly.
Through the chair, Councillor Johnson, if that's something that I could get you after the meeting, I can
Okay,
provide
I
you a map.
appreciate it.
It's also, there's a link to the map on our website as well,
Okay.
on that dedicated page. It is zone 3 within our map. There's a lot of islands, so there's 400 and some odd properties in that zone. About 190 of those are island properties,
Okay.
200 and change are kind of through the inland. But I can definitely provide you with a printed map, and then it is on our website.
Appreciate that. My last question, when you say about the final inspections, now the people get occupancy, move into a place with that final inspection. Is there a kind of a rough idea, did you tell people you'd like to see that final inspection, like say for instance in a year, or, I mean, you like it in the next month, but I mean, do you kind of tell people that you expect them to kind of clean things up? Is there a time limit there that you kind of talk to people about it?
Through the chair, Councillor Johnson, I think the messaging is getting out now. I don't think there was messaging that we originally put out, but again, one of the things that we're trying to make people aware of is that of the permit renewal and the idea of that permit staying open for greater than 2 years. And so we do communicate with them that they want to get these projects cleaned up, they want them through. So yes, in occupancy, we're going to be addressing that with them. Some people it is financial, unfortunately, where they get enough done to move in, but do lag being able to complete things fully and finally.
So you have a process, maximum 2 years, and they're notified that we gotta do something.
Yes, correct.
All right, the next thing is that we were going to do some, doing some educational information for the rental properties coming up for the season. Has there been anything done on that? As far as that people know, we said the biggest thing that we want to do is educate people more. Tell them about their responsibilities, and if things don't work out, then they could be fined or closed down. Have we done anything on that? Because it is time to get that done here.
Through you, Mr. Chair. We're currently working on some education tools that are going to be on our website, and then also some posts that we're going to put through social media. And then we'll also have those as paper copies that people can pick up when they come to the counter. So you'll see those probably mid-May, gearing up for the long weekend when visitors start arriving.
All right, thank you. And the last thing is just echoing about the construction, that the numbers being down for particular permits. Yeah, that's everywhere. Like, you know, every day in the radio you hear about housing, and all of a sudden, I'm in that business, and all of a sudden, the houses are starting. You know, and it is for a lot of reasons. In the country area, they're getting a lot. Where the lots were, you know, like 30, 40, went up to $80,000, $90,000. Now they're $300,000 to $400,000. Everything is coming down. Everybody's holding back because they basically can't afford to do a lot of stuff. And that's in the cities everywhere. You know, the governments keep planning on giving them more millions and billions of dollars, but that really might take a year or so to get that really through to whoever might be using that. So I can see the numbers being down probably all year because of the interest rates and the price of construction material, everything has just gone up and down. So something's going to happen to make these affordable, because right now they're not affordable to most people. So I can understand why the numbers are down. All right, thanks, Don.
Deputy Mayor Nelson, then Councilor Rowe.
Thanks, Don, for your report through the chair. Don, I have a couple of questions, and it's more dealing with customer service. Don, I've had several different complaints about people calling into your department, and I've actually done it myself. So I understand the frustration when I hear from people. And I think it's pretty simple to fix or change, due to all the letters that when I know that the building department has put on the answering machine. If you're calling about that, leave your number and whatnot. But people that are actually wanting to talk to the building department, that's the first thing they hear. So the frustration is already there, and maybe they don't listen to the rest of the message to understand that if they call back and call an operator, they can get through to the building department. So I think if we could look at, if you could look at changing that so that that isn't the first thing that the people actually hear and then hang up before they've listened to the whole message, I think it might help improve some communication with our public. And another thing, I just want to know your how you feel about we passed a policy not too long ago. I just forget when that exactly was, for customer service policy, that which you brought in. How do you feel that customer service policy is actually working? It is, how far are we from having the ultimate customer service, if you might say, from your standpoint, not my standpoint, from your standpoint, and from what I'm hearing, I just like your feeling on how you feel that customer service policy is going.
Through the chair. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So to start on the first, definitely we'll look at the messaging that we send out in our voicemails, and if there's improvements that we made on them, we'll look at them. For the customer service policy, I think that we do a very good job in communicating. I think there's always challenges. I think one of the challenges that we're in is we are an enforcement department, and something that, if I can, we heard in the comments from PCAT is that red tape isn't necessarily red tape. It's that people don't understand the procedure, and so I do believe that we try with our messaging on that is, so we have where people may bounce around through different employees. So we have 4 of them in our department, and they'll end up leaving messages for every one of them. And so we do our best. There's a lot of staff time as we try to track down who's on that file, what's the message getting back out, who's to look after it. We don't want all cold phoning back. So we do definitely try to streamline that. With the permit renewals, one of our messages is that if they can leave a message with us, we will be in touch in the current time. The bill, like there's no bill due, and a billing official will be in touch with someone from the building department. And so we may get multiple calls on that same file. We try to reach out with them. Our admin, I know, I would say that all of our staff, and I'd have to look into maybe a couple others, but we don't have voicemails left on our phones for I think mine says up to 2 days. Some things may fall through the cracks. I'm not suggesting that it's perfect, but I do think that we communicate well. I have to speak for myself. We're here. We're an accessible department now. We're here every day. People walk in. We attend the counter. I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't think anyone's ever been turned away from that. Same thing with calls in. I believe they get calls back if warranted. We do still have some staff on like we have flex weeks, right? So they may go a period of time where they have a 3-day weekend, or we also have sick times and vacations and stuff like that, but typically that gets noted in the emails. For being the ideal department, I think we're a little bit away for the fact that we have to change public perception. I think we have to work through some of the issues that we have facing our department. And that's some of the things that we've done. I've taken big swings to try to correct the department. Dealing with permit renewals, putting 960 permits in front of our staff. It's a big swing, but I know when we look at the time that we spend and the amount of the frustration it causes not only to the ratepayer, the homeowner, and the staff, I believe in them, I believe they're the right moves, and so I think we're building. I think I'm proud of the work we do, I'm proud of where we've come in a very short period of time. We have work to do. We still work every day to make sure that like I say, we have building officials that came from 3 different areas. And so we have to unite us, and we need some problem files to show us what that problem is, where we can get better, the things we can do. But I think in general, I think we do communicate well. I do agree. Some people don't like our answer, and I get that. We are in enforcement, and we're bound by the bylaws that are in front of us and the code that's in front of us. And so sometimes that's just the position. It's
Just follow up through the chair. Don, some of the, thanks for your answer. Some of the stuff I'm actually hearing, and maybe you can share some light on this, is through the permitting process of the on-cloud system. And as we all know, there's a ton of people out there that are not tech savvy, are not, and in lots of cases, maybe the person responsible for getting this permit, somebody has helped them put this cloud permit in. I don't know, this is things I'm hearing. And to get the notification, is there a problem with the cloud permit that when it notifies back, if things are not, or something is missing, that you can't issue the permit? Is there something within that cloud permit that is not allowing that to happen, or is there an issue with that? I don't know. If you can answer that. And the second part of that is there a mechanism that your department could put in place that for them people that aren't very tech savvy, that maybe, or that isn't on computers all the time, or like I know a lot of builders that they don't have time for that. They're busy swinging a hammer or air gun, I should say. Now, no hammers, but for simple terms, I'll say that. And some of that stuff that I'm hearing is, would it be helpful when there is a problem that the department recognizes that, okay, we're missing something, that maybe a mechanism could be put in place that somebody can get a phone call, like the person that's actually taking the permit out, that could get a call or saying, we need some more information, something that would trigger that, instead of it being just put on the cloud and nobody knows them for a week or 2 weeks until, I don't know. I don't know what the issue is, but I'm hearing that these are the problems that people are having. So I'm asking you them questions. That's why I'm asking.
Through the chair. Definitely. Thank you, for the feedback, and so to try to get all of those points in, I think, so we do have a test account, and from what we can see, when we put in changes requested into cloud, an email gets sent out through Cloud Permit. Also, when we put a message in, our message, and I know we've discussed the workaround on this, but the message tells them that there is an issue. Here's what the issue is, and once you fix, like say a required document, they're to notify us by email. We provide our email address, and please notify us once you've uploaded. But if I understand the issue is them not being notified and whether we call them or not, then that's something that we can look at. We do not typically phone. And we get into a little bit here where we have an agent and an applicant and an owner. And some agents and applicants want us to discuss the project with them. And then the owner wants to know, and it becomes who should we be notifying? And that's one of the benefits of Cloud Permit, is that all parties attached to that file can see all that public messaging. And that's something that we see as a really big benefit in Cloud Permit. And so we do struggle, like I would say, if we have to make those calls, it's who do we call? And I can appreciate a builder saying, like, if I'm too busy to do, but I think then potentially this is something that we have to look more in and talk more with council is, do we need to have more administrative support to help the builder with their administrative support, or do they need administrative support? right? If they're in the business of being a contractor, maybe potentially, that's part of their business. They need to find a permitting service that does that stuff for them. They need to hire an admin, and it's not that I'm opposed to having admin help, but we really have structured ourselves to homeowners who really need that help. And the one thing that we've identified with them is they can come in and use a township computer, and we help them through the permitting process. Like we do that with them. And if we know that they don't do that well, then I think we typically try to get on the phone with them. But I think that there's always maybe two sides to that. On whether people are tech savvy or just don't want to spend the time.
Okay, here, just to follow up to that. Is there, I do know systems out there that actually, the computer will actually send a message on a phone. I don't know whether cloud permitting allows that or does that, but that might be one option that we could look at or I have no idea. I have no idea, but I do know that there is programs out there that can be an add-on that would actually call the person that maybe isn't so tech savvy. Or it's just an add-on, maybe everybody could get that same possibility. I'm just looking at improving the customer service, that they get the feedback, because on that, I'm also hearing from different people that then when they don't see that and there is something missing, then it's another 2 weeks before, and before long, it's another month before they're even able to get billing. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of unacceptable. I don't know whose fault it is. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but if a notification was able to go to them that they knew, then it's on, the onus is on them. That's what I'm getting at. So it's something that could be looked at. That's all I'm asking. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you, through you. Just to piggyback on that, I think what I'm hearing from both of you actually is that there's perhaps two streams, right? There's a stream for contractors and I can't remember the other term that you used, applicants versus homeowners who may have a friend or family member who's sitting there and coaching them and working with them. And it sounds like, Debbie Merritt, correct me if I'm wrong, the customer service problem that you're hearing feedback from is from the homeowners or an unofficial representative of those homeowners, not the contractor or otherwise, is that?
No, I'm hearing it from everybody. I'm hearing it from contractors, homeowners.
Okay.
So if, and I understand if people, all the people, it just depends, I think, on who puts their name on the permit.
Right, okay. I just.
A contractor is probably, if he's working on a project and wants to get on to the next project, he's gonna be calling in here to you and saying, where are we at there, Don, for this, I think. But homeowner, maybe not so much.
Fair enough, and that's, in my mind, I think that's the difference, right? Like, if I, as a homeowner, am paying a contractor to go through the permit process for me and take my project through, they're probably charging me $1 premium to do that, like at their shop rate, to go through that process. And it is their job to a degree to monitor that file and to be responsive to the emails, and they've done more than one before. They're gonna be a lot more efficient than I would as a homeowner, having never done it before, right? So I think to the department's credit, I think perhaps it makes sense to have those contractors, be responsible for that on their own, picking up the phone, saying, where's my permit, like for my client, because they're getting paid to do that work, and that shouldn't be the taxpayer who's necessarily paying to do that work. Whereas if there is a homeowner who's trying to do their own permit, then I think they do need a little bit more hand-holding. And, from what I'm hearing, those individuals, even if they are not tech savvy, are being guided through the process in the office, sat down at a computer. there might still be a communication gap where maybe they're not getting the emails or they're going to spam or, phone calls might be helpful, and those delays end up being, a day turns into a month very quickly when those things happen. But I'm just trying to wrap my head around it as well, and I don't really have a specific question, I was just trying to understand the problem and the folks here. I hear from folks too, and I feel like those are, contractors are concerned about the amount of time that it's taking. They're not saying we're not getting communication. Let me rephrase that. It's not a technology problem. It's just taking too long to get the answers that they need, right? So, yes, something may have been kicked back for whatever reason, but they don't find out that it's been kicked back for a little bit.
Yep.
Right? Whereas homeowners, what I'm hearing from, just may not be getting the notification at all that anything's been kicked back, and they don't know how the process even works.
We have a breakdown of communication. We have a breakdown of communication somehow.
Through the chair, this is a topic I think we could sit here about an hour plus and talk about. I think it might be worth having a session, just with John at some point, discussion, to go over some potential solutions to this, whether I think looking at technology, as Deputy Mayor pointed out, maybe cloud permit system that is able to send out a text message to whoever the primary contact is, or a phone call, whatever it might be. One of the issues here seems to be who is our primary point of contact. Like, is it the homeowner, the agent, contractor? You can only have one, so you have to pick one, and if that person doesn't pick up the phone, that's not our problem. That is the primary point of contact for the project. I think that's maybe one of the issues here too, is that, again, the communication issue, but having one point of contact and a way of contacting that person that's fast, reliable, and gives the level of service that they need is a good starting point. As Mayor Watson said, contractors do charge a premium, and a lot of people in this room have had a contractor before. They don't do the admin side of work and permitting side of work for free. They charge money for it, so it's their responsibility to look after a lot of the stuff there too. If I can follow up that with a question, the other item that I've had many phone calls on are the final inspection letters that went out. I know there was some discretion in there to waive fees in some cases. I'm wondering, of the ones that you've looked at so far, what percentage of people have requested that waiver?
Through the chair. Councillor Ward, I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you the number is high. So I do go back to, of the 370 files that we've actioned, only 40 payments have been deemed acceptable and paid. That's not to say some of those still won't, but really what we're trying to do is we're saying if we can attend the site only once, the work has been completed, and if there's a few administrative errors, so typically on a new home, we would need an ESA final, potable water test, and let's say an HRB balancing report. If those three things are the outstanding after that we've attended once, and we can close that permit without re-attending the site, and there's no more work per se to be done, then we waive that fee. If the project is still ongoing and we show up, and we've had this where we show up and they say, well, we had a final and we've attended, and like they don't have their handrails and guards done, and they're like, well, yeah, we just had temporary stuff on there. But that's the issue, is that it's temporary and it's not for the final. So the work still needs to be taken. A subsequent inspection still needs to be done, and this permit's going to stay open, then that's when we would assess the fee. But if we can do it in one site visit, even if, like if we get there and they've just completed that work, as long as it's kind of one site visit and the work's done, then that's how we work to waiving.
Through the chair, I just want to make a comment, as we listen to this, this has been a problem, and it's going to be a problem on some situations. I must say though, I've seen a couple of situations that, you want to call it, that they're going to get a work stop order, and have to communicate and see that they can resolve things to a point, to let them keep doing part of the job that they were, because this all of a sudden, some things come as a surprise at the end. You know, like one person says, yeah, you got a permit, go ahead and do it. Someone says, well, no, you need this. So I mean, sometimes it's not their fault because they understood everything that's going. But I do want to say thanks for letting them do, continue on what they can do until they resolve the other, instead of just putting a stop work order on. Because that just turns everybody off. I'm not saying that sometimes you got it, because then some people do things on their own. But I'm just saying, thanks for that, and working with them. And I think that's what, every time we hire a new head guy, we basically say, you know, I say anyways, there are people, there are taxpayers, and we want you to work with them. And there's two ways of saying no, you know, explaining them, that here's what's gotta be done. And if someone missed something, okay, we work together to do something, compared to say, no, we'll shut you down, we'll see you later. So I just say that it's very important that you pass it on to the other inspectors that we want to work with our people. We're not telling you to bend I won't say bend the rules, but I'm not saying change the rules, but also work with them. And that's all, I think that's all we really want to get that message out. And I'm not saying you're not, but following the line to a T, sometimes you can work with them. You know, I think that message needs to be given out. But anyway, for a few that I know that are got a little hold up, you're letting them keep going somewhat, and I do appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks for the work you do.
I think we've worked over pretty good, Don. I actually have a couple things, but I'm gonna make it real fast and we're gonna move on because we can't spend a whole lot of, you know, all morning on this, as Councilor Roberts said. Maybe we need a special meeting one of these days just to sit with the building department and go over some of these issues when we do have a better time frame. Just piggybacking on what was said here, and the small ones that I hear, and I don't hear a whole lot of them, but I do get some, and it's the homeowner, and we've discussed it before, that doesn't have the tech. Like, I don't have a home computer, I don't have a smartphone. They've come in here, they've got help filling out their cloud permits, but then they are missing something. So, and it's that person, that thing spits out an email to them. 10 chances to 1, I don't know whose email they gave because they don't even have a computer like that. So that's the ones that need the phone call. Like, there's something's got a flag, okay, 5 days has gone by and we haven't had any response on this piece of information missing. We have to phone these people and see where it is, kind of like that. And I know, you know, like, there probably is software that can do that. Something flags, 5 days has gone by, no response. Okay, we have to get a hold of these people. So that's just something to look at, and I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect, but that's the people that I'm hearing from, is the mom and pop that come in and get the help, but then they don't get any. The only response they could receive was a phone call. So that was fine. The other thing that I was told about or heard about, whatever, when, and I don't know how far back this was, but anyway, when the building department would go and do an inspection, they actually left a yellow card or gave a yellow card to the contractor or the owner, so like that. It says, okay, this was done this date, oh, this is however, when you get your occupancy, when you get your final. You know, so they had something for their files rather than just the permit thing again that sends out an email, okay, this was done. So, because if there's something missed in that email, putting the information back in, you're in a catch-22 thing there. But if they have an actual card that says, okay, I was here this day and did an inspection for this part, that may be pretty easy to do, and then they've got something concrete in their hand, and if it comes back all the way to, yes, here it is, right here, and it's maybe something very simple. I don't know what you, if we want to take that or however like that, but I thought that was something that I am surprised we still don't do that, and I don't know how long ago we did, but yeah.
Through the chair, to the chair, to address it, we're always open and up to hearing how we can improve the department, our communication, and what we do. We balance, so to not get too deep into it, but we used to do inspection reports, and they're little paper chits that one would stay with the building department and one would go. So when we did that, at one time, those files, like the building official of the day would come back and it would get filed in the permit file, and then what would end up in the roll file. If we looked at the permit renewal that we're going through right now, a lot of this is, I had my inspection was already done. But we don't have a paper copy and they don't have a paper copy. And so I don't know if the paper copy solves the issue to the fact that it still has to be held. And when we look through our files, if we don't have that file, because up until 2018, 19, we were all paper-based. And the permit renewals, a lot of the ones we're dealing with are far beyond that time frame. This isn't there. And then once we went digital, if we did have a permitting system called Permit Tracker, we would go out on site, we would fill out the paper chip, we'd come back in, that paper slip would then get uploaded online as well, so someone would type that in. It would get to another software that we use within the municipality, and then the paper copy would also get filed. We found that we were kind of triplicating the work, that at the end of the day, that note was being transcribed 2 additional times. Now with Cloud Permit, they can print the inspection report. Like it does generate a report and they can print it. So they can have a paper copy, but we don't continue to fill out the chit. And one of the reasons that we don't is just, are we spending too much time transcribing a note that we've already made? You know, if the inspector's on site, or if the person's on site, we divulge the information, they know where we're at, which is great. If they don't, we spell it out as a deficiency or a remark, and then they can view those online. They can also print that report for their file. So I think it's a balance of when we fill out the paper, how much more additional work is gonna go into then getting that saved digitally. And if we only leave it as a paper file and we look back to some of our permit renewals, we can see that's kind of gone. And I don't know if it helped at that, like
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that it wasn't an okay system at the time, but I think.
And I understand that, but then we get back to a lot of people in this township that, and you've heard here, not tech savvy, like they don't have a computer, they don't have a printer, they don't have a smartphone, so they have no way of even printing this out, seeing it, whatever like that. So let's see, just the normal Joe Homework, they're not gonna have the opportunity to do that. They'd have to come in here and get it printed out, which they can do, but
Yeah.
you know, that's just a step that they need to know that, okay, this is done today, but you can come to the office and get it printed.
Through the chair, and I think that's something that I definitely would want to take away from today in that conversation is maybe making our again, it's the communication, is making them aware that they can come in and get a printed copy. And maybe we have to do a better job at that. And there's things in our last public meeting, we heard the same stuff here and potentially that there was some missed appointments and stuff like that. People would wait on site. And the first thing we did the next day is we talked to our staff and said, if you are not going to make that appointment, a phone call must be made. And so having these discussions and understanding where some of the problems lie, we will work to solve the problem. We can't solve them individually. We never want to look, and I apologize, but I don't want to look at one specific job, but rather an overarching. And if this is the general consensus, then we will revisit what our department does and how we can better communicate that. But I think definitely moving forward, we can look at that and say, maybe we need to make that information that they can come and get a printed report, and that we can have it for them if they didn't already know that.
Excellent, thank you.
Just in listening to the discussion, it sounds like a lot of people may need some accessibility assistance. We do have an accessibility policy. We do have a duty to accommodate. So if people are struggling with the way we provide information, perhaps reading may be tough for them, or computers may be hard, or something like that, they can reach out to us, and we're happy to accommodate their needs. But they need to reach out to us. We can't go find them. They need to come to us, and we're more than happy. And we have a very strong leading team, so there's lots of hands who can assist. So just a point there.
No, I appreciate that, and that's and that's again, an education thing, getting that word out there, that we've always struggled with, is how do we communicate with our whole township, newsletters, people don't read them. Some people don't get the papers, there's never a perfect way, and you're never gonna solve it all, but it is something we can certainly try and put in there and get that word out.
And three, Chair, like when you are getting these concerns from ratepayers, please let them know, like, that's a perfect time to educate them about the services we offer and what we can do to help. And whether it's the building department or the front counter or garbage or whatever their concern is, we're here to assist them, but if you don't let them know that we're here, it's very hard for them to know that, so we do want to help.
Great, thank you, good discussion. Last comment.
Yeah, just one other comment. I have to agree. I think it'd be great if us as a council could sit down with the building department and let you run us through a permit and the process so that we can better understand, from how it actually works, so that I have a better knowledge, so that I can explain to anybody that calls me up. I can help our building department. I guess that's frustrating for me so I think it'd be great if we could schedule something in the future that we can sit down with you, Don, and take a look at that. I think that'd be great.
Councilor Jones.
I'll make that a motion. Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm just gonna make a motion to receive the thanks, the report.
All right. And do you want to add on that we, just on the schedule, future meeting when, you know, when it works for this schedule?
Yeah, sure, we have a group meeting with the building from.
Do you have a second? Mr. Nelson, all in favor? Excellent, thank you very much, and I appreciate the time we took on that. I think we had a good discussion there. All right, on to the next, our fire department, Chuck. You're on, thank you very much.
Morning, just a few quick things, update. The Swim to Survive program is in there as part of our fire public education. Just wanted to let everyone know that we are scheduling to do it at the Warsaw Public School as well. Just hasn't happened yet, that's why it's not there, but they will be included. Our final review and final document for our paging project that we've been discussing for quite some time. We'll be should be here at the next council meeting to finalize that agreement. So that'll be circulating through the participating municipalities to get that done. The current provider is eager to, they've given us notice they want to discontinue, so they're working with us, but they're also reminding us that we need to try to move on with our new program. So that'll be coming back to you soon. Just as a comparison, I think I normally put that in. I failed to do that this time, but we're at 110 calls for the first quarter of 2024 as it compared to 97 in 2023. So we're not too far off. March was a little bit quieter, so maybe everybody went south this year, I'm not sure. But the other 2 months made up for it to still bring our average up a little bit. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Oh, sorry, I do want to mention this because we're talking about good weather. Our boats should be in possibly this afternoon into the lake. The water, a lot of this being played with up and down a little bit, but I think we have enough water in there to be safe enough to navigate those waters with the pontoon boats. And then said our numbers are strong. We didn't have a recruitment this year, but we did last year. We took on our first trial Sir Sanford pre-fire service student. So that worked out well, give them a benefit and us as well. So this year we've taken on 2 students. So one will be, they're on different intakes. So one will be here till the summer and the other one is here at the end of the year. So they're just kind of gaining experience working with their education side. So it's at no cost to us. They're truly volunteering their time, and it's just to give them some exposure to what we're doing. So any questions on that? Yes.
Comments, questions from the committee for Chuck?
Through the chair, so we've already had 2 guest stars.
Yes.
And it's at, down the road, with possibly, more fire bands going on, as the summer goes on.
Through the chair, I think we've got through the main peak. We've only had, I want to say 2, possibly 3. They're all fairly minor. And we're starting to get that turn now with the grass is starting to green up. So we're just really dealing with a lot of the older dead stock that's taller as the rest, but it's moving slower because of the green base. So we'll have to see how the summer comes and what happens, but we're certainly keeping an eye on that, but hard to predict what will happen. It really depends on the weather.
And my other question is that when we get everybody certified, as the times change, and now we're doing more medical calls than anything, we get them more certified. Does that information go to our insurance company where they can try to keep our insurance down? Like it's an advantage to us to send that information to them?
Sorry, through the chair, just want to qualify. I mean, are you talking about municipal insurance or residential?
No, municipal insurance. Does that help when you show them that all the guys are qualified and they got all these licenses?
Yeah, we haven't seen any indication of that. The only thing that I can say that it would potentially affect is our tanker shuttle accreditation that we actually will be doing again this year as recertification. In those standards, they want to know how many, what your roster is and how many people are certified. Now certification is coming through, but like I said earlier, our roster is strong, we're actually over rostered. And, you know, the numbers coming in for certification is 2026 for the first round and 2028 for specialty rescue. So I think we'll be in good shape, but we are working on how we're gonna fit all those pieces together. But as far as insurance, like I said, the only thing that we really got any information on is the tanker shuttle, because those are the things they look at our apparatus, the age, maintenance records, breakdowns, and roster, and certification will be part of that. So they are starting to ask those questions, but they can't hold us accountable to that yet, because even though legislation is passed, it's 2026, that's actually enforced.
Okay, and I see a lot of medical calls, which is the time of day. Hopefully the fires are down and moving on that. Okay, thanks for the job you do and all your volunteer friends.
Any comments, questions? Chuck, I just have one, and it was just a curiosity thing. For the tanker shuttle service, is there an area from each of our 4 fire halls, like, you know, you do the one up there, you do here, you do Douro, you do Donwood, so that area is covered from each facility? Is that how it works, or is it just basically from, let's say, the one here in Warsaw and that's it?
Yeah, so, yeah, good question. So there's 2 pieces to it. There's a residential protection piece to the tanker shuttle, and then there's a commercial. So the residential goes from, because we tier out all stations for a fire. So it's 8 kilometers from a fire station and 8 kilometers or 5 kilometers from a water source. So that's why we have dry hydrants that we have, you know, where we can. We'd like to have them in some places that we can't put them, but that's why where they are is to try to give us the best coverage. And on the commercial rating, which is what we were able to, because of our tankering changes, we've increased our water on the road for the last 10 years. So last time we were able to do commercial rating instead of just residential, and that drop is still the 5 kilometers from a water source, but it's 5 kilometers from a fire station. So that's the biggest change, is the residential is 8, commercial is 5. But yeah, it's participating from all those stations, and we even get credit for our automatic aid partners. So we have automatic aid with Pascal Norwood, we have with Lakefield, Selwyn, and Young's Point Station. So those also count as our closest to a fire station if we have a water source in that area.
Perfect. All right, thank you. All right, no other questions. I'll entertain a motion to receive with thanks. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chuck. Okay, moving on. Finance Department. Paul?
Just getting organized here. Thank you. New chair to council. Few updates. So we did an HR update. Our payroll and finance clerk to move on to another opportunity. So her last day with us was, I guess, technically yesterday. Last day in office was this past Friday. We do have the posting out. I did conduct some phone interviews and hope to be conducting some in-person interviews shortly. Pretty big loss for our department, you know, at any time we lose anyone, but you know, given we're a team of 4 and you lose 1, you're down 25% of our capacity. So, and it's not really something, you know, we need to take on her functions, but luckily we are cross-trained. We have people who can backfill the payroll and the accounts payable functions. For year end, I just want to note that I know Councillor Johnson did request a report summarizing the 2023 year end. We did review line by line with each manager. There were some entries just to make things make sense from an accounting perspective. We were working on that, but we have been focusing on 2022 as the auditors will be here, as that's later in my report. The auditors will be here for 2022 they will be here the week of the 22nd, so in 2 weeks. So we're just making sure everything is in line for them to be here and for that to go smoothly for 2022 and start to really be caught up. For tax sales, there are 4 properties that are in position to be registered. Once the property is registered, they have a full year to make the full payment, but that does mean once the property is registered, that they are required to make the full outstanding amount. Whereas prior to it being registered, they would need to only pay the third year outstanding. One of the projects that we have been trying to keep going, but we have been, is our online payment portal. It's been it's kind of morphed a little bit as we've really gotten into the project. We've determined that we're going to allow for payment. We were going to create one central place through our website. What we decided to do is still have that central place for certain payments that the software cannot accept, but for things like cloud permit, booking, and the burn permit, we're going to do that payment right through the software, and then it'll be, I think, cleaner for the end user, for the resident, also internally for admin staff. That way the invoice gets marked paid immediately, whereas if we created our own portal, there would have been, process would have had to be created for the two systems to talk to each other. So that's where we're at. We're, I would say, late stages of that project. But again, everything is kind of internally in finance put on hold just until after the 2022 audit, and then we can kind of get back to those one-off projects.
Thank you. Questions, comments from any members?
Committee Chair, just got one simple question. You know where they're registered for sale, properties? And say they go that process, they don't pay after the year, and they put it out there. Now, when the property is sold, the money's number one would go to, if you, the banks or whoever, and then we would probably get the next in line to get our money. And then the third at the end, does the owner then, whoever, would get the rest of it? That the way it works?
Through your chair, yes, that's correct. The order, I believe, actually, we get precedence on the property tax portion, and then any other creditors who are owed from that property would get their funds. It goes through the courts, and then anything that's left does go to the property owner.
Through the chair, Mr. Kramer, I'm curious, building on the whole tax sale conversation, with 4 properties registered, do we have any historic data to understand where we sit compared to prior years, either anecdotally or actually, that you might have off the top of your head?
Through your chair, to Mayor, not off the top of my head, I do know we did have a few years there where we put stuff on hold, and we're quite lenient in terms of going to property tax sale. That was due to COVID and kind of the hardships that were being borne by taxpayers at that time. I know historically we don't get too many properties of material, in the sense of a lot of times the properties that end up going to tax sale are kind of not the most useful properties. And so we'd still have the full year once these properties are registered. And I think historically, most property owners do make those payments. And that's why we don't have historically a lot of tax sales in our township. But I don't think this number of 4 being registered is out of line with our historical. It's just a lot of times, and I'm not sure how many times it's been reported that a property has actually been registered. I think usually when it gets to council is once it's actually hitting the tax sales taking place.
So just as well, Ben, if you could perhaps just send some information through what historic data that you have. I understand during the during the pandemic times, we did put a freeze on that, and I understand there wouldn't be much, but I'd just be curious kind of where this sits currently.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam Mayor. Pre-COVID, we never tracked these numbers, so we'd have to go back to paper records, like they weren't kept in spreadsheets. So it may take us a little bit of time to find that. And we also never reported to council on registrations. We only reported on actual sales. So I think that's where the data may be hard to find, but we can do our best.
Yeah, yeah, it's great that we're talking in now.
Yeah.
Through the chair, yes, thank you.
I think, if I can add one more thing through Chair, I think it is good to note that when the auditors were here and presenting a couple weeks ago, the 2021 statements, they did touch on our overall outstanding taxes receivables, and did note that historically, we have done a good job keeping that number low and being on top of collections.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment questions? I have, well, and I'm not quite sure, but, when people pay monthly, like it's an automatic monthly thing, but when you get your statement, it still shows, you know, the first quarter, the second, the third, and again. So let's say it's $800 for the first quarter, 800 for the second, and then you go with it. But you're only paying that in bits and pieces. When you're doing that bits and pieces payment, you're not quite caught up to what that quarter is going to get. There's no interest or anything thrown on top of that, or is there, because you're paying a monthly thing?
Through Chair, there's no interest put on people with, put on the monthly payments.
Okay. Perfect. It was just a funny question. We get asked all kinds of things. All right, thank you. Councilor Report.
Through the chair, just to follow up on our discussion here, property sale. From my previous experience, in a lot of cases, let me say 95 times out of 100, these are fully resolved before that 1 year is up. In some cases, lenders require borrowers to provide proof that they've paid their property insurance or paid their property tax. And if they don't pay their property tax, the bank will pay it on their behalf. And they charge them for it because the bank doesn't want its security position compromised. So I remember seeing on the township's website about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, must have been 2+, but there was one property up for sale through this process. But it is so incredibly rare. I'm not surprised that it wasn't cracked.
All right.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to receive with thanks.
All right, and second by Councilor Johnson. All in favor? Perfect, thank you very much, Paul. All right, moving on. Roads Department. Take the next two, I take it?
Yeah, if it's okay with you, I'll do them individually.
Absolutely, absolutely. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Clerk's Department report is in front of you. I just wanted to provide you a few highlights and things that have changed. So in the report, I said that we had 7 FOIs and 6 have been closed and 1 is in progress. All FOIs have now been complete. Just in talking about years past, 7 FOIs is the highest number of FOIs we've ever had in 1 year, and we're only in April. So I imagine we're going to get more, and this would be an abnormally high year. I hope it's not a trend, but it may be, but our staff are really well trained in this process, and we've got it pretty dialed in, so it's working well, so that's nice. Things to mention, we talked about co-op programs a little earlier. So last council meeting, you did get to meet our placement student from Trent, and she presented a report on policy and bylaw to you, and that was a great experience for her, and she really appreciated it. And we were able to get a project off our list, so that was great for staff as well. I just wanted to let you know that I've already signed us up for that program for next year, so that we can again have a student from Trent. But I've also reached out to the high school, St. Pete's and Thomas A. Stewart, to inquire about their co-op programs and getting high school level co-op students into the municipality, because we have such a range of skills and programs and departments here. I think it's a great opportunity for a student to learn all about what the municipality does, or if they're interested in a specific department, finance, building, clerks, parks and rec, public works, library, whatever it is, we can tailor the co-op program to their interest as well. So I've already made some of those connections, and the schools are really excited because they actually start pairing with students now for September. So it's perfect timing for their schedule. So just wanted to let you know about that. And those are the big changes. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions, comments from the committee? Any from staff? All right. Sorry, I didn't do that the last couple. Motion to receive with thanks. Councilor Ward, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Perfect, thank you very much. And now on to the CA report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this report was the final report from Elena before she left. And she did provide some wrap up of various projects. One item she did want me to highlight for you at this meeting is regarding Television Road and County Road 4 at that intersection. We've now had a dialogue from the city that the extra paint has been removed. So the confusion at that intersection should be lessened. And the city and county and township will still work together on monitoring this intersection. And if there's things we can do in the future, we'll bring that to you. But I want to let you know that there has been, that one problem has been cleared up. So I'm happy to answer any questions about Elena's report or what we're going to do going forward.
Questions, comments? Any from your staff? I just have one, and I'm not sure, maybe I missed it, maybe it should have been our building department, that one, complaints resolution with residents. Now, a complaint, does that include like property standards, that kind of thing, because I know there's at least one standing. Is that through this or?
Yeah, through you, I can answer that question. So we have two streams of complaints. We have bylaw complaints, so property standards, dogs, things like that. That goes directly through Don's department. He keeps track of those and they are numbered separately. The complaints that I deal with are complaints under our complaint policy. So these are formal complaints about policies, procedures, or staff that we have. They can be submitted online, in paper. They do have to be written in some way, though we have staff who can transcribe that for someone if they need that assistance. So those are the complaints that I deal with, the larger system complaints or staff complaints. So those come through my department and then they're kept, as with all complaints, the secrecy is quite high and we try to resolve those pretty quickly. Our policy does say we resolve complaints within 30 days and we have been able to meet that deadline.
Excellent, thank you. I will entertain a motion to receive. Thanks. Mayor Watson, Councilor Johnson, all in favor? Perfect, thank you very much. All right, so that concludes our staff reports, and thank you very much to everyone for and coming today. And we move on to 6.9, and that'll be our draft strategic plan for the township of Douro-Dummer. And I'm going to turn that over to you, Georgina. Thank you very much.
I'm just waiting for it to get up on my screen here. Through you, Mr. Chair, I have prepared a report for the committee regarding the strategic plan. We did have direction from council back on March 19th to defer the conversation regarding the strategic plan to this meeting and to reopen the public survey, which was reopened until April 3rd. It was closed at 9 a.m. that morning. All of the responses from the public survey are in the package. We've created tables for council to make it, and the public, to make it easy to analyze each of the questions that were asked. We did receive some public comments through the survey. There were 17 responses there. I've not coded them, but I have created themes for each of those comments that are received and provided the number in each of the categories. Many of the responses and comments that were submitted covered various themes. That's why there's so many themes out of 17 responses, but I wanted to make sure that the thoughts of the public were transferred to you. So that's all there for your review and where we can discuss them as we go. There was also a comment about the land acknowledgement and changes that could be made to that to make it more relevant to our community, if that's council's wish. And then I also provided information regarding next steps. So what happens after a strategic plan is made. Many of the comments received from the survey were what does this mean? What do we do? How is this impacting our community? So I did provide some information on what happens after a strategic plan is made, talking about an action plan, budgeting, the cycle of projects and things like that. So I'm also happy to discuss that section as well. But I'm really here to answer questions from yourselves and help talk through that so that we can move forward, because we don't want to be stuck in limbo too long and miss opportunities for positive growth for the municipality.
Thank you. All right, monthly floor. Councilor Johnson.
And through the chair, I'm going to jump to near the end before we get going here, but the thing that was sent out to us from Brent Wheaton about the acknowledgement, land acknowledgement. Number one, where did we get the original one that we can say?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Johnson. We had actually written that back in, I want to say 2018. We wrote it in consultation with Curve Lake First Nation and the Indigenous Studies Department at Trent University. And our land acknowledgement statement went on to be like a prototype for the rest of the county. So most other townships kind of took ours and built on it to reflect their own communities, but that's when it was put in place.
So, Brent's comments, you know, the went over my knowing of what went on years ago. But I think we really need to look at it, because I know Brent, and I know he's the one person that would really dig into this stuff, and he's made a lot of good comments. Now, it's over above my head what we should be doing, but I do think we need to recognize that and change ours, no matter who else is doing whatever. Because the way I look at it is that years ago, they made a change, which I was never in favor of, that we would say a prayer before the meeting. And they took that out, which really bothered me. But anyways, when I come on stream and, you know, as we started and reading this every meeting, you know, I respect what was all done and the time it took, because I didn't know where it came from. But I do know that I really want to look at Brent's stuff, and then so it would be someone way over me that would recommend what we should do with his comments and what we're doing now. So that probably have to be come back to us. But I really need to, I respect what he's done here, and I think we need another look at it before we continue on. Maybe we just go back to the prayer.
You cannot, sadly.
Okay, anyway, I made that comment first, is that we need to look at that in the future here.
Thank you. Anyone else, comments, questions? Or Kim, if I may, and maybe you don't know this right away, but it'd be in what Ray just has to bring back, but we use the initiative, and Brenda's put in here initiative, so that's maybe one of the differentiates that we will need to have in a report that's saying, you know, what is correct, maybe they're both correct, it's just how it's used in context, whatever like that, which sometimes those things are, but anyway, that was just the one thing that I called out there, was the two different things when we use our land acknowledgement compared to what he's using here in his letter, so.
Yeah, through you, I don't know the correct answer. At the time when we wrote the current one that we used for our meeting, that was the direction we received, to use the language. But if there's a better way to do it and a more respectful way to do it, you know, we're happy to explore that. And that can be done.
And I know any of our first people's lands around here, Chief Knott, or, you know, even Hiawatha, whatever, I mean, they'd be happy to help us out with this. I mean, I've got a lot of dealings with Chief Knott over the years, and he's a fountain of knowledge and straightforward, and he would definitely put us on the right track on what we're both, like I say, and it could just be how, like, you get some sentences that a word means something, and you get, you know, but it doesn't when you're using it in a different context, so then you have to use the other word, so maybe both are correct, but that's something that we could certainly, they would certainly help us out. Thank you. Okay, so that's, is there anything else on the strategic plan that anyone would like to comment on, bring up? I know we were requested to come back to this committee for comments and so on and so forth, and we had 5 presentations at our last council meeting that I think that's what spurred a lot of this to bring it back here, so Anything else, any comments, any questions, anything council wants to, or committee wants to bring up before we move ahead? Seeing nothing, anything from staff that they've seen?
So Mr. Chair, one of the questions that was asked of council that was deferred was regarding the having one core value statement or having a mission and a vision statement. The results on the survey, as you can see, were really neck and neck. There was no side was, overwhelming for the public. People seemed, for one core vision, we had 55 yeses. For a separate mission and vision, we had 52. So pretty similar numbers. But we do need direction from council as to which route you'd like us to take.
Councilor Roy.
Through Chair, I would like to make a motion that we move to one statement, that is a mission and vision statement all in one. The township isn't an overly complex organization or area, and I think we could say everything just in one statement.
Do I have a second for that one? Anyone else? Any comments, any clarification, questions on that?
A question.
Or yours?
Thank you, through you, Chair, sorry. Just to be clear, I'm just trying to pull it up here. When we're talking about one, are we referring to, where to go? So, Councilor Ward, the survey, I believe, looked at option one being just the core purpose versus option two, which was the vision and the mission. So when you're saying opting for one, you need specifically the core purpose, is that correct? Thank you. Just a clarification.
Just a quick question to the chair. What you suggesting to the, put the two together? That you're trying to read this.
Option one. Option one.
So through you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, on page 3 of the draft document, there is the core purpose statement, and then below that there is the vision and mission. So we would be removing the vision and mission and just leaving the core purpose based on the motion that's on the floor right now.
All right, so, is everyone clear on the motion that's on the floor? Okay, no more comments or questions on it? All in favor of doing the same? All right, motion's passed. Okay, so I guess our next order of business is we have to decide whether we want any more changes in it, whether we're going to do it, or whether we're going to pass this today, and look forward to them.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments before I make a motion. This is a very high-level document that I believe just guides the township in our business with our ratepayers, with our everybody that we actually deal with, really. It's basically a very high-level document that does not keep us tied to anything, or as we go through budgets, that's what ties us to different projects within our community. And this is just a very high-level commitment that we are making to our residents, and anybody that basically deals with us as a township. And that's the way I see it. There's been a lot of talk about this being tied to all kinds of other stuff, but this is just a mission or a core statement for us as a township. as us as a municipality. And anyways, if there's no more comments, I would like to move that we support the document as our consultants have done, and move forward and get on with our supporting document.
Second,
I'll make a second, I'll second it just for comments. Like, we had the individual speak to us, and they all made some really good comments, things that probably was never brought to the table the first time around. And I would have to speak for myself, unfortunately. I don't know how to wingle some of them in, but just to accept what we come up with the first time, I don't think it's acceptable. There are so many good comments that were come in, talking about the elderly and the children, all these things that were brought up. I think that I'm not good at this, and I don't know how we should wing them in, but I think we needed to look at our thing and bring some of these comments forward. And I'm just saying that as myself. I don't know where the rest of you stand on it, but just to, like, there were so many good things brought in, and maybe some of them don't need to be put into this document, but I would do think that we really should consider some of the comments that were put in, that came forward. That's my comment. So I really don't like accepting it, just cutting right away we did the first time.
members of the committee would like to speak on behalf of this and what we could be proposing today or what we're not. Mayor Watson.
Through the chair, I'll weigh in on the motion that's before us to adopt it. I have had the opportunity to go through it multiple times, not just through our agenda packages, but through sitting on the management committee as well and meeting with the consultants and talking individually with residents and pulling it out again, with that lens on as residents are raising, concerns or questions to me. I'm generally comfortable with the strategic objectives that are listed. I think that we ought to take into consideration perhaps wording changes for the land acknowledgement, because I believe it was the land acknowledgement that's in the strategic plan specifically is different from the land acknowledgement that we use prior to at the start of each meeting. And I believe that the land acknowledgement in the strategic plan was simply drafted by the consultants and doesn't necessarily reflect the Indigenous community within our community and what we acknowledged locally. And so I think that ought to be revisited in some capacity. So I'm not sure if Deputy Mayor Nelson's motion takes that into consideration, because I know Councillor Johnson had also touched on that. I'll call for clarification there before I go further.
Through the chair, I'd be willing to, yes, accept or put that in my motion, that land acknowledgement be looked at through. Anyways, we'll let staff come back and suggest the best way to handle that, but yes, I'll change my motion to reflect that. If a seconder wants to do it.
Yeah, I'll second that for sure. We reconsider that motion.
Okay. If I can continue, thank you for clarifying that, because I just wanted to make sure that was something that we were recognizing in the strategic plan, because that is certainly part of the document. I know that there were some concerns raised, many concerns raised by the various delegations that we had to Camp Council a few weeks ago. I'm just trying to bring my notes on this as well. The pillars as they are, again, I stand behind them. I look at one of the large concerns that I've heard from residents on, specifically around the environment. I look at this locally with that lens, as Deputy Mayor, you had suggested, it's our guiding document for how we want to recognize the environment within our community. not necessarily tied to any larger potential policies, but just our own internal policies around smart growth and around how we're using our facilities, and how they're being designed and built, as well as, recognizing our farmland and green spaces. And I believe fundamentally at a local level, that's something that we all need to be observing, because one of the common themes that came through was the fact that we do hold the natural environment that surrounds us very dearly to us. So I support the motion that's on the floor with that amendment as it relates to the land acknowledgement. And then when we're ready to have the question, I will go ahead and support it.
Any other comments, questions? Councilor Roy.
Through the chair, like everyone else here, I had a chance to speak to constituents, and I definitely can understand Councillor Johnson's point here that there were a lot of good comments from the folks that came to speak to us here a couple weeks ago. I think some of those comments, which I'm going to say feel like they're largely wordsmithing, are things that should be incorporated in here as well, particularly around the 4 pillars. I think based on some discussions, just the ordering of wording creates a little bit different perception of how people read those. I haven't heard any concerns or identified any concerns myself, but those pillars that we have, they seem pretty reasonable. It feels like any concerns that are there are essentially wordsmithing. With that said, we do have a final version of this to receive as well. Once the consultant's finished up with it, this feels like a suitable time to make any final adjustments in here too, as we look after the land acknowledgement. I don't know if it's the appropriate venue to suggest the wording changes, but they're very minor in nature. Would it be worth? I would just like to throw that out there since we're talking about the motion right now. I don't want to bog this down further in the process, but as Councillor Johnson said, just to take into consideration some of the comments that we do receive as well. What would we look at from a process perspective, I guess, is my underlying question. Probably more from Martina.
I'm just Mr. Chairman, just evaluating our options. We could make an amending motion. So leave this motion here. Don't vote on it yet, but make an amending motion where we actually, if you wanted, go through the various pillars and we record those changes requested. That'd be a motion, we vote on that motion, and then we vote on the motion that's on the floor. That's an option. Or we can remove the motion that's currently on the floor that's been seconded. We can just cross that off. We can go through the wording, make that motion, and then come back and make a final motion. So whichever option works. I think the second option is probably the easier option because we're not making amendments to amendments. But it's up to the chair who wish to proceed.
All right, thank you. If I may speak on that. I guess from what I heard here, that it sounds like there's some specific things in there that committee members want to see adjusted, stuff like that. And just from what I heard here, I mean, for you to go back and make these adjustments, I think you kind of need some specifics from our committee members here as to, okay, I'm looking at this, kind of like that, because it was pretty broad, what I just heard, so I'm taking it here the same way. And I don't have a problem with rescinding this motion period, getting the feedback from the committee members, like, they look over, say, okay, this is where I have a problem, from the comments that we've got for a while like that. Okay, this is what I'm concerned with, this is what I'm concerned with, this is what I'm concerned about, or I'm in favor of, whichever, not necessarily concerned. They had some good points in here, we'd like to get them clarified, but you need that direction from the members sitting here as to what changes and how it changes, stuff like that. So as far as I'm concerned, I would be, and I'm just one person here, it's a five-person, vote here. I would be in favor at the moment of rescinding the motion and let anybody, you know, for timeframe on it. I don't know what kind of timeframe you want, I'll let you decide that, as to getting these things in from committee members, if they have any changes they want made, and then come back to the next meeting for a final. Yes,
Another option is to use the motion that we have, do another friendly amendment. So we've already added the friendly amendment, that we bring the document forward to council approval with changes to the land acknowledgement. You could do another friendly amendment to that, regarding changes. But yeah, we would need, I would prefer, a timeline for when those changes are received so that we can action them. We don't want to just leave it out there with no timeframe because, you know, to get the button, so.
and from what I understand from just speaking so like that, like this document is something that everybody has. I mean, every township, every county, a lot of business stuff like that. And this document carries weight, no matter how strong we make it or how weak we make it, it carries weight for us to receive grants down the road and like that. Doesn't necessarily mean we're tied to, and I know the UK, or you know, the whatever, so we're tied to a lot of these things in this document. Are we not? I'm not. That's way above my pay scale, kind of like that. But saying that, we can't let this drag on forever either. So what kind of a time frame would you be comfortable with, or do you want council to, or the committee to come up with a?
You should hear the comments of council before weighing in.
Through the chair. You know what, that you go through a strategic plan. I've been through three, I guess, in my life, here at the township. And every time it is we're always told, every time, this is the first time that a consultant has done ours, I believe. I believe every other time we have people come in and help us and we've done it ourselves. You could write a dictionary. You could, in order for to meet every single thing that people want to see, and like, I want this to be recognized. I want that to be recognized. You could go on and on and on forever. It's a high level document. And people need to recognize that it basically spells out, what does it spell out? It spells out our mission, our what we want to kind of accomplish for our township. And that's what them pillars are, is strategically saying this is kind of what we want to do. Are we tied to anything by it? No. It comes down to budget and how much money we have, depending on what we want to do in the future. So I don't know where people are thinking that we have to add. Less is lots of times more in the big scheme of things, in my opinion. But I went through all this and I've looked at, in recognizing it, and I'm hearing the people. I understand what their frustration is, and I understand what, in looking at, I went through it 3 times. I actually watched the council meeting over and over again and watched what everybody was saying and watched it, and then I looked at the strategic plan. The strategic plan, again, has nothing to do with a lot of what people are saying, and I understand, and that's not downplaying anything that they brought forward to us. I'm not downplaying that. I'm listening to that, but it has nothing to do with the strategic plan. And that's my opinion, and my motion stands.
Very awesome.
I believe Councilor Report had his hand up prior to
Okay.
mine.
Through the chair, getting back to Martina's comment regarding timelines, maybe my first question really should be with respect to the land acknowledgement. When could we expect to see that being incorporated? I'm just thinking in terms of timeline and any proposed changes here, including the land acknowledgement, that could be wrapped up by the end of next week, perhaps, would that be a possibility?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if it could be brought back to you for the May 7th council meeting. That just gives us a bit more time, trying to get it done by the end of next week. You'd still have to wait till May 7th to bring anything back, but it just gives us a little more flexibility to have those dialogues.
Sorry, I was kind of trying to interpret which way Councilor Ward was going with that. Was it like for council to have, or committee members to have in by next Friday?
Correct.
Not have you have it done by next Friday, but yeah.
For us to have next Friday, to have it for next
Any
Friday.
comments and changes you'd like to see by next Friday? That's where you were going with that?
Correct.
So,
Just so we're clear. Madam Mayor.
Just because that includes the land acknowledgement component in there as well.
through you, Mr. Chair, procedurally, there is a motion on the floor. The mover has stated he is holding the motion firm. So we can provide a date for the land acknowledgement, but we cannot add to the motion that's on the floor. We have to do this motion as, and then we can do other motions to amend it, but we'll have to do it another motion. It just makes it a little complicated, but I'm happy to provide some guidance.
Okay. All right, so at the moment, Mayor Watson wants to speak.
Through the chair, just speaking to the motion on the floor for the second and final time for me. I appreciate that we had the opportunity for feedback from residents at the council meeting a few weeks ago. If anything, it did allow us to have a bit of a additional time to extend we received feedback, but not enough people were able to give us feedback. So we extended that survey and had a significant number of additional feedback received after that. In looking at the survey data, however, of the questions on those strategic pillars, each of them, of those who voted, each of them were weighing in like anywhere between 59 and 67% in either agree or strongly agree. And so I feel comfortable that when we're looking at the voice of those who did participate in, and those who are in agreement with what those strategic pillars are, that we are hearing the voice of residents. And I think that was one of the big takeaways from me when we had those delegations, that people hadn't felt heard. And now we have heard, we have listened. Obviously, we can't incorporate every single comment in. And I agree with Deputy Mayor Nelson that this is a broad document. There are action plans that will follow, and council again will have an opportunity to look at those action plans, how they're funded, and what the priority is in fulfilling those action items as it relates to the strategic plan. This is a process that's been underway. We started in February, I believe, of 2023. We've had a lot of engagement, we've had a lot of discussion, and I feel, council, those of you who perhaps want to wordsmith here and there, this is potentially the forum to do that. How much more time do you need? We've had this document in front of us now as a draft document for some time. I understand we're still hearing feedback, and perhaps we want to take that into account, but how much more time are we looking at for that? If I could just speak briefly to the land acknowledgement from a procedural standpoint, I don't know where that feedback is going to come from, and I'm looking at you, Madam Clerk, for the land acknowledgement specifically by Friday, who it is that we're looking to guide us in that, whether it's Mr. Wheaton himself, or we're looking to consult with Chief Knott or other members of the Indigenous community. I think staff probably is going to be looking for some direction on that. In terms of what council is looking for, or do we perhaps entertain using, and I just want to be clear, again, the land acknowledgement that's in the strategic plan is not the same land acknowledgement that we use in our meetings. Do we look at simply, and maybe it is too simple, using what had been already discussed through consultation for our meetings and putting that in the strategic plan document in place? And I'm looking to council because I think staff are going to be wondering the same thing, because certainly I'm not qualified to be weighing in specifically on the verbiage of that.
Through your chair, to Mayor Watson's point, with respect to the land. I think less is more, and if we went strictly with the land acknowledgement that we use in our regular council meeting, that seems like an appropriate thing to do, since there was input provided at the time that that statement was developed, that was brought forward with the First Nation community. Jumping back to the previous discussion that we've had for the last 10 minutes, we could keep going around and around and around, instead of on one area, on another area, and this might take even more time. So myself, I would be comfortable with going with the land acknowledgement used in our regular council meeting, or just removing it from the strategic document as well.
Any comments, questions? Councilor Johnson?
So to the chair, my comment would be that if we're going to leave it, we need to get a look at it. That's what I feel. Brent gave us 2 cents, and I think it was well worth looking at. He's involved in this stuff, he has been for years. And unfortunately, maybe he was missed at the time. But I would suggest that if you could email, that is a Chief Knott. His daughter's on no? But anyways, let them see what Brent has brought into their attention, to see if they think there's need for change. I still would like to get a second opinion on everything that he has put down.
And if I may speak on that, I do believe they should be the same. Like, we're gonna keep it in the security document, the same as when we do our council. Absolutely. And then, like I say, the difference in the wording there, just have one word that we use right now compared to what Brent put in here. Is there a difference? Should we be correcting that? If we should, and that's in the motion that's on the floor right now to amend that with the information that we get. So, but I do believe they should be the same. I don't think we should have 2 different ones. So, that being said, any other comments, questions before we do the vote? Because there is a motion on the floor, duly seconded. Does anyone want the motion repeated? Are we all straight and clear on what we're doing? Okay. All in favor? Motion passed. Okay, moving on. New business to be brought to the next meeting. Does anyone have anything that they would like for our next committee, the whole meeting? If not today, please have the clerk before, 2 weeks before, week before the next meeting.
Through you, if you're referring directly to committee of the whole.
Yes.
Okay, let me look at the calendar here. That will be, it's scheduled initially for June 11th, but I will probably be making a request to bump that a week because of various conferences that are happening. So if we could move it to June 18th, that would be ideal, and then you would need to have items to me the morning of the 11th.
Great, now look for council, move it to June 18th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do have a council meeting, so the 25th, apologies. Yeah, no, we don't want to double up.
The 25th will be our committee of the whole now, instead of June 25th, instead of the 1st, because of conferences and so on.
Okay.
And a week before that, if you have anything you want on the agenda for that particular meeting.
That'll get changed in our calendar, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just through the chair, just for another next meetings now. I want a notice for a council meeting that we're going to get involved with the event committee on an item that's going to come up with our council meeting. So I think I just want a line put in there. I think maybe some already had submission to speak at the meeting also, well, maybe I don't, but I just wanted to mention that after the adjournment meeting, we'll talk about getting involved with our event committee.
All right. Anything else for new business for next meeting? All right, then I will ask for a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Ford? Mayor Watson, all in favor? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like to take a 5-minute recess before we go into closed
That's
session?
great. That's the one.
You gotta